What's going on, everyone? Crush back here with another video. Hope everyone's having a great day today. I know I am, and today I'm doing another recap of the latest Last of Us episode. And y'all know how I already go. You know that I'm gonna give a summary, then I'm gonna give my thoughts at the very end, and without any time being wasted, besides all the time being wasted, let's get right on into it. So this episode starts out a little bit like the first two episodes, which includes scenes from the past and not the present and not where we left off in the last episode. So what starts out in this episode is we see, I believe what we're seeing is the resistance, as I like to call it, the people that are opposed to the totalitarianism government that has been running the major cities in the United States. I think it's called FUTA. I can't remember what it's called. Okay, no, I don't think it's called FUTA. I'm pretty sure FUTA is like some business term, but we'll just call it the government just to save the time and energy, you know? We start out by seeing the resistance of Kansas City finally overthrowing the government. We see a whole bunch of people who were part of the government get killed, stabbed, brutally executed, shit like that. We see a bunch of chaos in the streets along with celebration. You would honestly think that it's the purge going on or the 4th of July just with a whole bunch of dead bodies. So, yeah. Patriots Day with dead bodies, you know? You see a whole lot of that in the beginning, and you also first see Sam and Henry, who are working their way, trying to navigate themselves out of the city, and yeah, at this point we don't see Joel and Ellie yet, we only see Henry and Sam, along with the leaders of the resistance. Henry's trying to keep Sam in order. They both appear to be a little bit different already from the video game, which I'll go into that in the review later on, but Henry and Sam, they're just working on trying to exit the city. They're hiding, evading patrols, and stuff like that. Meanwhile, the leaders of the resistance and now I guess the new government that's in charge, or the new order, is interrogating a whole bunch of government members or just people that were friends with Henry, and they're trying to get information from them on where his location would be. And at this point in the episode, we don't know why the government, or sorry, not the government, the resistance has been hunting down Henry and Sam. We have no idea, okay? We know that they were looking for them in the last episode. They thought Joel and Ellie were Sam and Henry, but we don't have any idea why the resistance has been hunting down Henry. So after the leader of the resistance tries to get some information out of some people, at first nobody was cracking, and then she decided, you know what, I'll just kill all of you. That's pretty much what she said before she was about to leave the room. And right when she was about to leave the room, some guy, some stupid rat who folded under pressure, clearly, gave away Henry's last position and gave away a little bit of information on him, which I think the information he gave was one of their safe spots that they were at. And after the guy gave away his information, or at least his last known location, the resistance leader, she leaves, and then after a little bit of conversating with their head soldier, or I guess the general of the militia that's with the resistance, she orders them to kill all of the people that were in the interrogation room, and then kind of ends it on that, and then leaves, and the soldiers pretty much execute everybody, and that's that, you know. I wasn't exactly sure what information that dude who ratted on Henry gave away. I'm assuming that he gave away the attic location that they were staying at, because if you remember from the last episode, there was an attic that they were staying in that the resistance had discovered, and in this episode we see a little bit of the calling of a storm when they're in that same attic just before the resistance finds them in there, or doesn't find them in there, but just finds their old belongings in there. We see them in the attic. Henry's just trying to calm Sam down, make sure that he's nice and chill and that he doesn't freak out. Meanwhile, he himself are monitoring the resistance's patterns, because if he knows the malicious patterns, then he knows when they won't be expecting them to leave, you know? It's pretty smart, in my opinion. There was one other person that was with them at first, and it was the doctor. The doctor from the last episode who was shot by the militia leader, who I assume killed him. We don't really get a clear answer, but it's, you know, I'm pretty sure he's dead. He was also there. He was talking with Henry a little bit, and they were kind of shooting the shit, and he was clearly an ally, and he never ratted. After Sam and Henry figured that the doctor wasn't going to come back after being captured, they decided to leave their attic and go somewhere else and try and start escaping. And they were just moving, I guess, from building to building, and at one point, Henry and Sam were looking through a window, and they actually witnessed Joel and Ellie fighting those soldiers when they first entered the city in the last episode. I don't know exactly to what extent they saw, but they saw the gunshots going off, and I'm sure they saw Joel and Ellie make a run for it from that original building that they crashed their car into. And it was pretty clear that they were following them, because you can't just happen to walk into a building, go to a certain floor out of 100 floors, and then magically find Joel and Ellie. Clearly they were following them, and clearly they did find them, because after a little bit of searching, they found them, and they start talking to them. They wake Ellie up. I actually don't remember if she was awake or not. I'm pretty sure that she was awake when they arrived, and then Joel wakes up. And then they're holding guns to both of them, which actually weren't loaded. They were just trying to intimidate them and just to make sure that they were taking them serious. After a little bit of talking and a little bit of introductions, Henry is talking to Joel, and he convinces him that since he knows the city, in his own words, he knows how to get out. He tells Joel that the best way to escape the city would be going underground, because Fedra, which was actually the government name, that's what they called themselves, I guess, had killed all the infected that were in the sewers and in the underground area. And the Resistance did not know this for some reason. I don't know how they didn't know this, but the Resistance apparently thought they were still underground, which later on in the episode, I think they were right to a certain extent, but we'll get into that later, okay? So after a little bit of disputing between Joel and Henry, they weren't exactly seeing eye to eye, but they weren't really arguing though at the same time. I think Joel just needs some convincing by Henry that this was the right plan. Because he was quite skeptical. But anyway, though, after they were discussing the options, they decide to go through with the plan. They go underground in the sewer areas. Well, they're not really sewer areas. It's more like maintenance tunnels. They end up finding this little makeshift shelter that's in the maintenance tunnels. It's basically a giant, I want to say a giant pre-K classroom / home. For families that clearly had kids, because there was a whole bunch of drawings. The front door literally was drawn on, and it looked like a castle entrance. It's kind of hard for me to describe exactly how it looked. That's pretty much the best way I can describe it, I guess. But after resting for a little bit, and after Henry and Joel were talking a little bit more, Henry ends up telling Joel the reason that the Resistance is after him. At first, Henry lied to Joel when they were in the big building and basically told Joel that he was a rat, and Joel was not happy about that, and that's part of the reason that it took some convincing to get Joel on his side, because Joel doesn't work with rats, which I respect, you know. I myself wouldn't work with a rat, but it turns out that wasn't the reason that the Resistance was after Henry. Apparently what actually happened was Henry killed the former leader of the Resistance because Sam had leukemia. I think that's how it's called. I think it's leukemia. And there was a very limited amount of medicine, and I guess it was the government's way of exchanging Henry the medicine if he were to kill that leader. So he ends up doing it, and he made it clear that he was not proud of it, but if you're going to choose your own brother over somebody else, who wouldn't do that, you know? I mean, if I had to kill somebody to protect my family, I would most likely do it. After Henry tells Joel this, Joel decides it's time for all of them to continue walking and to try and make their escape out of the maintenance tunnels and then back on the surface outside of the city, or at least near the border of the city, I want to say. After this scene, we cut back to the Resistance and see Kathleen, I think that's her name, I keep forgetting this bitch's name, but I'm pretty sure it's Kathleen, along with Perry having a conversation. They were in Kathleen's old home where I guess she was just living through some nostalgia, talking about her brother and how good of a person he was. And even though her brother, after being killed by Henry, wouldn't want Kathleen to kill Henry, she decides to still do it anyway, and Perry's just kind of awkwardly standing there listening to her. I mean, he wasn't awkward, but I feel like it was kind of an awkward situation regardless. So how does Perry respond? He basically just tells Kathleen that they're all on her side and that they won't fold, you know, and that they'll stick by her side, which I respect, you know, I respect that. There's a lot of information that was said, but just for the sake of this video, I'm just going to dial it down to that. After their conversation, we then cut back to Joel, Ellie, Henry, and Sam, who have made their way back on the surface. They're in a suburban looking neighborhood at night, and they're just making their way down the street. They think that they're home free. At least I think Henry and Ellie and Sam thought they were home free, but Joel is Joel, you know, he's ready for anything. He I guess figured that, they should be ready in case something does happen, which something did happen. When they were walking down the street, they randomly started getting shot at by a sniper. I'm assuming the guy was using some kind of bolt action marksman rifle. But after the sniper starts shooting them, they all hide behind cars, and after figuring that the guy's too far away and that Joel probably won't be able to shoot him from where he's at and that they'll just get shot if they're in the open, Joel tells everyone to just stay behind the car and that he'll flank around the sniper and get him. Joel's successfully able to do that, and he goes upstairs to where the sniper is. Joel basically tells the guy to slide his gun over and just to stay in the house and he won't get hurt, but Old Man Jenkins over here, who Joel was just saying a second ago had shit aim, clearly couldn't take the hint that Joel was just too much for him to handle. This old guy must have thought he was Arthur Morgan or something and had a quick draw hand or something with a bolt action rifle, even though Joel had a pistol right next to him. So you can kind of figure what happened. This guy got cocky thinking he could outgun Joel, and then pow, one shot, old man gone. Santa Claus should have stayed in the North Pole, to say the least. So after Joel killed the old man, he hears the old man's radio, and he hears Kathleen on the other end of it, basically saying that the whole party's pulling up. Kathleen and the whole militia are pulling up, and after Joel realizes what's happening and that the entire militia are coming after them, he tells everybody to run, but unfortunately it's too late. The militia are already pulling up. It looks like they're about to run Ellie, Sam, and Henry over. They had this big truck that was basically used as a snowplow with cars, and it was just pushing everything out of the way, and it looked like they were screwed for a second. But luckily Joel had Arthur Morgan aim and was able to headshot the driver and make them crash into a house, which then blew up. Unfortunately for them, the whole militia was still there, and it looked hopeless for a second. It looked like everything was about to end, the militia were going to kill them all, and they were about to storm the house where Joel was. Kathleen thinks it's Henry, though. She has no idea that it's Joel that's inside the house, and Kathleen is telling Henry to surrender and to come out, and Henry eventually, after a little bit of patience and waiting around to see what would happen, he starts yelling back at Kathleen, telling her that he'll do it and that he'll surrender himself. And after talking to Kathleen for a minute, Kathleen pulls out a gun and is ready to kill Henry. Unfortunately though for Kathleen, that wasn't exactly how it went down. Kathleen was getting her gun out, she was about to kill Henry, when suddenly it looked like a massive landslide happened. The truck that had blown up started sinking into the ground and a massive hole had formed. And guess what was coming out of the hole? Yup, you guessed it, whole lot of fucking infected standing around here. And the infected, obviously, knowing that there's a whole lot of people, a whole lot of action going around, a whole ocean of them leave this hole and start attacking all the militia soldiers, Joel, Ellie, Sam, well, not really Joel was still safe in the house, but Ellie, Sam, and Henry. And it's pure chaos right now. It's a whole battle royale that's going down, infected versus humans, and either way, nobody's coming out a winner, okay? Nobody's coming out a winner. People are getting bit left and right, infected. It looks like it's the end for the militia, honestly. And then to make it even worse, if regular infected and clickers weren't enough, we get introduced to a new enemy that we have not yet seen in the show. We've seen in the video game, but we get introduced to the big woolly mammoth of a zombie, the Bloater. And the Bloater, holy crap, this thing is like Goliath. It's huge. It's fucking ginormous. It's a fat tank, basically. And this dude is just easily picking people up, throwing them down. It looks like it's like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson fighting a whole bunch of toddlers. Let's just say that, okay? These people are no match for a Bloater. This guy is just ripping people a new one. Literally. During all the fighting, Perry was trying to protect Kathleen from all the zombies along with the Bloater. And I don't know why people do this, because this is just hella stupid, but Perry ended up sacrificing himself, trying to kill the Bloater and protect Kathleen, only to get his head ripped off clean. And yeah, he just got fucked over really hard. There's no nice way of putting it. And it's just still chaos everywhere. It's chaos. However, eventually, Ellie, Sam, and Henry were able to eventually leave the mosh pit, the battle royale itself of all the gunshots, all the infected, with of course the help of Joel, who was sniping this whole time, and who had some really good shots, I'm not gonna lie. He shot an infected right off of Ellie. inches away from her head. This dude is really good at shooting. And right when it looks like Henry, Sam, and Ellie are finally able to escape, Kathleen pulls up out of nowhere, holding her gun now, and is ready to just pop everybody. But God, that was such a stupid thing to do, because if she were to at least run a little bit closer to them, or at least not have her back towards the hundreds of infected, maybe it would have actually been able to get on a slight shooting spree and kill Ellie, Joel, probably not Joel, but Ellie, Sam, and Henry. Because since her stupid ass had her back turned, an infected little girl who was actually trying to kill Ellie when Ellie was hiding in a car earlier basically jumped up on her, grabbed her, and started biting her and eating her face out. So nice one, Kathleen. You might as well dye your hair blonde. So after Kathleen is clearly defeated, Joel, Henry, Sam, and Ellie escape. They hide out in a motel, and Henry and Joel are having just a little bit of talk together. Joel invites Henry to come with him to Wisconsin, and Henry agrees, saying that they'll start a new life there. And Ellie and Sam are just talking, talking about comic books and whatever's on their mind in the other room. And towards the end of their conversation, Sam reveals that he was bit. He reveals that, I don't know if he was bit actually, he may have just been scratched by an infected, but he clearly had been infected. And after Ellie realizes this, Ellie cuts her hand open a little bit and basically says, "My blood is medicine," and rubs it all over Sam, thinking that that will cure the infection. And then they go to bed. When she wakes up, she sees Sam sitting on the other side of his bed, his back against her, and she tries to strike up a conversation with him, only to realize that he's turned. He hisses at her, he attacks her, and Joel realizes what's going on and is going to go for his gun when Henry grabs his gun first and points it at him, shoots off a warning shot, and isn't letting Joel kill Sam. But I guess in Henry's heart, he realized that Ellie would have been fucked if he didn't do anything about it, or that Joel would have probably tried to strangle Sam to save Ellie. And instead of taking the risk of that happening, Henry, with a really quick draw, I'm not gonna lie, he had a really quick draw, he shoots Sam and kills him. After realizing what he's done, Henry's clearly in a state of shock. Joel's trying to calm him down. He's asking if Ellie's okay, and Henry, realizing what he's done, ends up shooting himself in the head and killing himself. We then cut to another scene a little later on, which shows Ellie and Joel burying both of them, and then eventually when they're done burying them and setting off some of their personal items on their gravestone, they leave. They go to Wisconsin, because, I mean, there's really nothing else you can do at that point. They need to get moving. They're limited on food. They don't want to, die from whatever else may be out there, so that's that, and that was pretty much the end of the episode. Anyway, now y'all, time to go on with the review of this episode. So, I do have a decent amount of stuff to say about this episode. For the most part, was it a good episode? I would say yeah, it was a good episode. But in terms of how accurate it was and how well it could have been, I do have some criticism. I know that this was about an hour long, and I would say that the first 1/3 of it was really, really good. I liked how they gave some backstory to Henry and Sam, and they gave a little bit more information with the militia. And I just like how Sam and Henry were able to find Joel and Ellie, and I liked Henry's plan as a whole. I thought it was really good. In terms of comparing the first 1/3 of the show to the video game, I would say it's pretty on point. I mean, obviously the militia side is not something that's covered in the video game, but who cares? Because I enjoyed that. I thought it was really good. But with the last 2/3, I have some criticism. So the whole plan of going through the maintenance tunnels, I get that's a good plan, and I think that was a really smart thing of them to do, but first and foremost, it seemed way too fucking easy for them to get down there to begin with. In the video game, they had to go and avoid all the militia, and they even fought some of the militia in order to get down to the maintenance tunnels, which I get it. In the last episode, Joel and Ellie did fight some of the militia, but they didn't do anything. They just got down there easy as fuck. Like, just super convenient in this episode. So I thought that was just a little bit too convenient, but at the end of the day, I wasn't really that stressed about that. That wasn't that big of a concern. But what I did think was lame, in my opinion, I thought this part was lame, was how easy how easy the maintenance tunnels were and how there were 0 infected down there. And before you say anything, obviously I know that there's infected in this episode. I know that all the infected came running out at the militia at once at the end of the episode. I get that, but come on, let's be real. How much cooler would it be if we saw Sam, Henry, Ellie, and Joel avoiding killing the zombies that are down in the maintenance tunnels in badassery? I think it would be way cooler if we were to see them use some actual strategy and avoid them versus just, walking fucking down a path, that's really all it was. As much as I don't like it, I'm not gonna just shit on it completely. I thought it was okay. I did like the little homemade shelter that they did find. That was accurate to the video game. I thought it was cool, could take it or leave it, to be honest, but I'll take it, I'll take what I can get. But the whole maintenance tunnel, I don't know, it just didn't seem accurate. I didn't like that. I thought it was way too easy. After they got back up from the tunnels and encountered the sniper, I did like that part. I know that the sniper scene was accurate to the lore in the video game. The only criticism I really have with the sniper scene was, I think that, the sniper could have made, we could have seen more of an effort with Joel trying to avoid the sniper shots while he was trying to go around and get the sniper. But it's not that big of a deal. I think that scene was fine for the most part. I thought the scene where Joel killed the sniper was really good. It was pretty cold, not gonna lie. And you could tell that Joel still had some humanity in him. He gave the sniper a chance, but Santa Claus over there wasn't taking none of it, which would end up costing him his life. And the whole scene with the militia versus Joel, Ellie, Sam, Henry, and then later the infected, I think that was actually really good. I did enjoy that. I think that it was dope. It was dope. They introduced the bloaters, which I thought were awesome. I thought they were fucking on point. They actually seem more badass than in the video game, in my opinion, of course. But holy shit, they were running like Lamar Jackson with a football at those militia members. It was crazy. But yeah, that part was good. And then approaching the end where Sam turns and Henry kills himself, I didn't like it. I'm gonna be honest. I enjoyed Joel and Henry talking during the night and kind of getting a little closer. I thought that Ellie and Sam's scene were really good. After Sam turned, I didn't like from the time Sam turned to Henry killing himself. I thought that was not good. I really didn't like that. Now, I shouldn't say not good because it was good. At the end of the day, it's a good product, but I thought it was rushed. If you compare that scene to the video game, they take more time. They have some background music to try and get you more into the feeling of how sad it is that Sam turns and that Henry kills himself. They kind of rush it, in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but I feel it's just rushed and that you can't really capture the audience's emotions as well because it just goes by way too quick, I actually didn't mind Sam showing Ellie the cut that he had. I actually thought that was pretty normal considering who his character was in the show. His character is massively different than the character that's in the Last of Us video game. This character, number one, is 8 years old versus the other one who's probably about 14, Ellie's age, and who talks more, who is a lot more negative in my opinion. And this character, who's younger, who doesn't talk at all, seems to be more of an enthusiastic kid, who is willing to share what's on his mind, in my opinion. So I had no problem with that. I just hated how quickly the Sam and Henry death scenes were. I thought that The Last of Us show could have done a little bit better. I'm going to be honest. It just felt bland. That's really it. It just felt bland, kind of boring, It's really no comparison. You can't compare that scene to the video game. The video game scene is so much better. It actually will make you cry, at least the first time you see it. No, I just can't see it. I'm sorry, I just can't see it. And then after Joel and Ellie buried them, I thought that was fine. That obviously was lore accurate, and I think that was... I think it was a good scene to watch just to show some more humanity in Joel and some respect that Joel had for Henry and Sam, because he was actually burying them unlike a whole bunch of other people that they've encountered. So how would I rate this episode? I don't know. I liked the episode, but I do have my criticism for it. I would give it maybe a 7.5 to 8. just because, again, some stuff felt rushed. It felt like it could have been a little bit better in general. But was it bad? No, it was still really good. Just, in my opinion, I think it could have been better. That's really the best way I can say it. So, let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was a good episode, better episode than what I'm making it out to be. Or maybe it was worse. But, yeah, everyone has their own opinions, I guess. So just let me know in the comment section what you thought. And, yeah, I'm going to end it here right now. This video is probably going to be pretty long. And, yeah, I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Fucking kidding me? A half hour online and this is what I get? Bullshit.